Hey, Caleb, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Howdy, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
So since we've last talked, or since you were last on the podcast, and you were on one of the earlier podcasts, I think I can't even remember which episode. It was like 3 or something like that.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, something like that.
And we had a ton of fun talking. I remember we talked about the radio frequency identification in the cars, the RFID. Was it RFID?
Yeah. Like breaking into cars with SDR.
SDR, it's not RFID.
And yeah, it's basically just replay attack, where you record the code coming from the remote and then replay it to open the car.
Yeah, that was cool. I really enjoyed learning about all that stuff, and that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. And since then, and so if you haven't listened to that episode, I recommend going back to it because it was fascinating learning about all that. And since then, you have you've packed up and moved to Georgia, and we were talking a little bit about that before we started recording. I'm like, no, save it for the podcast. Let's talk about it then. So I wanted to hear a little bit about your decision to move to Georgia, why you'd want to leave a snowy, wintry wonderland, Wisconsin, and go down to Georgia, and how that's played out for you.
Yeah, well, I actually won't miss the cold, but I will miss the snow. I actually do really like the snow in Wisconsin. But yeah, a couple years ago I was watching some old home videos, and I grew up kind of in Kentucky more, and more in the country. And I remember moving from Chicago down to Kentucky as a kid, and it was like going to heaven. I mean, it was, and I just watched the video, and I was like, you know what? I couldn't give my kids anything better, like more enjoyable than what I had as a kid. Being in the woods and stuff. And so it was that. Plus, it was also, selfish for me too, because I was kind of tired of being in the city. I really like. I wanted more mountains and woods, and that's just kind of more, I think, my kind of vibe. In addition to, there was, seeing the polarization in the country and things like that, and also just looking at the infrastructure that we live in, where it's with electricity and the internet are so critical that if it went out, the city would be a very difficult place to be. So that's kind of the main reasons for moving.
Gotcha. So you grew up in the country.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both. We moved back more into the city when I was probably like 14 or something like that. So I was out in the country for, maybe 5 years or a little more, less, something like that.
Cool. And so how's it been? As we're recording this, you're out in your you have a horse stable on the property, and you kind of you're doing it from this space to get a little bit of privacy and not have a bunch of kids trying to beg you for your attention while we're doing the podcast, but it's also making for a pretty cool, unique podcast. So tell me about this stable you got on the property.
Oh yeah. It's just in this old barn that we got. But I'm trying to fix it up and kind of make it into like a little bit more of a livable space, filling in the cracks and that kind of stuff.
It's like a man cave. You're gonna have it be like your man cave or something, or?
I mean, I actually probably will use it as that a little bit, but also just our house is only 3-bedroom, and we have a family member living with us plus our kids, so we don't actually have any guest rooms, and we like having people over and stuff. So it's not the best guest room, but I'm trying to make it more comfy and stuff. Just moved about 3,000 pounds of rocks in here earlier today.
Wow.
I need to get a little bit more. It wasn't quite enough to fill the whole floor, but yeah, I mean, kind of it'd be kind of like a glamping spot. So, it won't be super great, but hopefully better than camping.
Cool. Did you harvest the rocks yourself? Did you go to the quarry?
No. No, that would be a lot of work.
Cool. Well, that's pretty cool.
I just had it delivered.
It sounds like you're trying to be a little bit more self-sustaining. You talk a little bit about, if the internet went down or whatever, like being in the
Yeah.
city, it's going to be a mess, right? And so is part of it,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of looking to be, more self-sufficient.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of it. We actually, back in 2019, my family and I did a month-long glamping, or not glamping, boondocking trip. Partially looking for a new home. But it's kind of amazing when you do, like, when you're boondocking, you're just out in the woods. We didn't have a camper or anything. We were tent camping and all that.
Oh, wow.
But my wife, Whitney, she wanted a hot shower. Having a nice warm shower was a non-negotiable for her. So we had a little setup where, like, I tap a creek and that kind of stuff, and use a propane heater, and I got a little gas generator so I could pump water, get hot shower, and then you have something to wash your hands with. But anyway, it's kind of interesting, like when you really go more longer term camping like that. It was kind of like an interesting learning experience, because I got to learn, okay, what is, like, the basics I need, like, for living, and, like, one of the things was a water source, which I guess is probably an obvious thing to everyone, but it's just, you can't really, if I want to have a shower and I want to be able to drink water and that kind of stuff, that's some of the most basic stuff. And so we wanted to find a place where, if we needed to do that on our own, if the electricity goes out, we can do that. We can get water at least. I think that's an important thing, probably a good thing for people to have in mind wherever they're at, really. Like, if, obviously the electricity keeps running, or the water keeps getting pumped, usually, I think, without electricity, but at least for a period of time with the water towers. But at some point, I figure it would probably run out. So yeah, that was definitely one thing. And just being able to grow our own food a little bit, we're wanting to do that. So just have some of the basics. It's kind of amazing, as a culture, we've become so efficient, and we outsource more and more stuff that people have historically done. And living is very, you see some of those, like, settlers and what they went through. It's like, living is very difficult, but so much of it's been outsourced for us. But now we don't have hardly any of these very, very basic living skills, like getting water and getting food and building shelter. And so I'm wanting to get more of that kind of stuff. And, I want my kids to be able to get a little bit more of that kind of understanding, and,
That's
just
awesome.
in case.
Yeah, I think survival skills are probably one of the most important skills to have, and it's like, most people don't know them at all, right? And
yeah,
I think it's funny that you mentioned that about the showers. There's a trip that my wife and we take with a couple of our friends every year. We take a week and we started it 3 years ago. We went to the Boundary Waters 3 years ago. Then we went to the Apostle Islands, and then last year we went to Sylvania. And so we've just been doing canoe kayak trips where we go out into the wilderness for a week, and it's awesome.
That's cool. That sounds awesome.
We love it. And but one of the guys that comes on the trip, he said, I'm bringing, a hot shower so we can have hot showers. But he was really adamant about having his hot showers. And those hot showers are nice, especially when you're out there and you're all grimy.
Yeah.
And so he's got, you have the little, the black shower bag. And we did the same thing where you heated up the water and then we put it in the shower bag. And then you're just hanging up by a tree limb. And then you take a nice hot shower, and it's a wonderful thing. And then the other thing is like we go out fishing the whole time, and you catch so many fish, and you eat it, and it's like the best food. It's so fresh and amazing, and I don't know, it's a lot of fun. And so yeah, I mean, last time we went to Sylvania in July, and I was like, Sylvania is in the UP in Michigan. It's okay, like right over the border of Wisconsin, and it's like sort of like a mini Boundary Waters. So there's, like, I don't know, maybe 8 lakes, maybe more, but I think we paddled like 8 lakes, and you portage between them and all that kind of stuff. And I remember saying, like, because we were in the midst of COVID and everything, and And I'm like, if we get out and there's a civil war going on, we're just going to come right back in, right, guys? And that's like, that's our
Yeah, there
plan,
you
right?
go.
We're just going to come back here and we're going to hang out. And so there, fortunately, there wasn't a civil war when we got out. So, but you know, and I think it's interesting. You're thinking about those things. Like if the grid goes down, what do we do? You know, and
Right.
it's you know, what's your plan B? And you got a good one. I got a well, we got a spot up north. That's our plan B. But you know, that's
There you go.
it's a interesting thing to be thinking about.
Well, even if you're in the city, when I was in Milwaukee, actually, me and one of my neighbors, you know, we had plans for, you know, just in case things went down. You know, I had a well. You know, we could have manually gotten water if the electricity went out, or used a generator to get water. You know, that kind of stuff. So
You had a well at your
it's a good thing to
place?
think about. Yeah, it was like a really old house, and it amazingly had a. We were like one of the only wells anywhere around. Like, yeah.
Did you drink out of the well, or were you attached to the city water?
We had both,
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, I could drink out of the well though. You had to go and get it tested for bacteria and that kind of stuff. So it was drinkable.
That's cool. That's I love that space, and I love, you know, you invited me and some other guys to do this. We did some art, some painting at your house, and that was a blast.
Yeah,
I had so much fun doing that, and I'm not much of an artist, but it was fun to just like you know, just paint some stuff and see what comes out, you know, and I wound
yeah,
up
yeah.
painting something
I
that was
liked
like
your painting too. I remember.
it was like it was like an eye, it was like a maze, it was like a compass, it was like all of these kind of things combined in it, and it was a weird thing that just came out of me that I wasn't really consciously thinking about, but that was a really unique experience. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a good time. It's fun to just do art, even if you're not super good at it. It's just, I think it's healthy. You got to let that heart have its play.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you still been painting? Have you been doing a lot of painting?
I was just telling a friend earlier today, I'm not painted like in probably a good 9 months or something. I got a friend coming over to visit sometime soon. We're definitely doing a painting party, you know. So
What you
haven't in a
have
while, but we'll be soon.
What you have been doing is the math art, which I've been loving. All of the fractal art that you've been doing, you know, using fractal equations in Python. And can you tell me a little bit about how you started doing that and what that process is like?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was actually thinking about how did I get to doing this stuff the other day, and I was like, okay, I guess it started in high school when I first saw a graphing calculator, and I was like, oh, you can draw with math. That's super cool. And you know, you don't have to be perfect at drawing in a circle. You can write the equation, and it draws a circle for you.
On the old TI-85 calculators or whatever those were.
Yeah, the TI 83, 89, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I remember just being fascinated by that, and you know, and a couple years ago, I actually wrote my own graphing tool. It's actually no one knows about it. It's on GitHub. It's called Truthy Graph, I think, or Truthy Graph. It's either Truthy Graph or Truthy Graphy. It's but it's a very simple graphing program. It's just in your web browser, so you can even try it, Kyle.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out, and I'll put it in the show notes when I find it. So if anyone else wants to check it out, there should be a link in the show notes, so you can check it out.
Actually, little cryptography thing. The default equation that's graphed on it is one of the elliptic curve cryptography equations. I think actually oh yeah, that's right. I think at the time I was doing some research into elliptic curve cryptography for work, and I was like, okay, how does this stuff work? And I kind of got into this bit of a rabbit hole where I'm looking into it, and I'm like graphing the equation, and I think I wanted a prettier way to graph it or something like that, and so I wrote this little tool called Truthy Graph, and like I said, it's on GitHub, and it's on GitHub, and it's also hosted on GitHub Pages. So I think the URL is truthygraph.github.io. If I remember right, that's what truthygraph.github.io. But anyway, what most graphs do is, if you're on a TI-89 calculator or whatever, and you graph, x equals y squared, or sorry, y equals x squared. and you get a parabola shape. You know, well, what it's showing you there is where there is zero error, there's the left and right side of the equations are precisely the same, right? You know, so y equals x squared, it draws a line where, you know, at 0, 0, y equals x squared, because 0 equals 0 squared, you know, and on up the graph. But what Truthy graph does is it shows you a gradient, and it shows you basically as the error gets away from, most graphs show you only where the error in the equation, in the size of the equation is 0. Truthy graph shows you, it colors it for you, so you actually see the error, not just black and white of where it's true and false. True, you know, it's showing you. I don't know if that makes sense, but it ends up creating all these pretty gradients and that kind of stuff.
So in the case of y equals x squared, what would it show? Would it show you where would it color in where y doesn't equal x squared?
Yeah. And it basically the like the line will be brighter wherever they are equal, but it'll be dimmer and dimmer the less true the equation is till it fades out. Basically, and you can kind of adjust. You can adjust how much of the error to show basically and stuff. Anyway, so that's kind of a cool little tool. But I kind of, well, then I got into like the SDR radio hacking stuff. And so I was learning about like waves and more math for that kind of stuff. And so basically I pivoted, this art stuff was kind of pivoting from the math stuff I played around with the radio stuff into the visual space. So I was basically using a lot of like similar math that I was using for like hacking, you know, cars with radio waves, and just showing that same math visually. So some of it, or some of the same basic kinds of math, especially like wave. I do a lot of waves. It's kind of funny, like waves are this like weird pet topic of mine. My wife said I should write a kid's book about waves, but anyway.
Do it.
Yeah.
You should totally do it. So what's your favorite wave? Are you a sine wave kind of guy?
I mean, I just generally like, yeah, I like sine waves. They just show up everywhere. You know, that's a lot of what I use. And yeah, so, you know, with the art stuff, you're asking about that. You know, I basically paint with these different equations. So I'll generate these natural patterns, like what you might see if you drop, you like the wave patterns you get with ripples. If you like drop a stone in like a pond or something like that, you get these ripple patterns. And you can also get really beautiful wave interference patterns if you have more than one kind of oscillator going on. So you know, some things I might show you, like one of my art things was like, if you drop 6 equally sized stones in water, the wave interference pattern that it creates would be pretty much exactly what the math is showing. So it's kind of showing you like reality.
Oh wow.
It's actually, it's like I basically choose the colors, but all of the structure pretty much comes from just very direct mathematics reality. And I call it God's art, because I'm outsourcing all of the structure, you know, to the rules that he wrote or whatever.
Yeah, wow, that's fascinating. So you're just taking, you know, the rules that govern the universe and making a visual representation of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And so where can people find the art that you've been making? Because it's really cool. It's amazing.
Yeah, thanks Kyle. Yeah, it's my website is gods.art, so gods.art. It's this new .art domain name, which I think is kind of cool. But anyway, if you look there, I actually need to update my website again. But yeah, it's there, and then it's also got a link. I've been doing like tapestries and pillows and
oh really
blankets and stuff. Yeah, on this, there's this cool website. Actually, probably a lot of people would find this interesting. It's called Society 6. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not. No.
It's like this cool website where if you basically, you can just upload any arbitrary image, and you can make all these different products out of it. So you can
Wow.
make tapestries, for example. You can make custom pillows. If I had them around, I would show you. But yeah, you can make a bunch of stuff just by uploading an image. So I upload my stuff there. So you can get, you can get the leggings made. You can get like pillowcases. It's really cool.
Awesome.
You shower curtains. It's actually kind of a cool product idea, service offering.
I think that'd be cool if you're taking like some equations that are like, I like the idea of like, okay, so you got 6 rocks and they're the same size and you throw them in water. What happens with the ripples? If you could tell that story, I like the idea of, because your wife was saying you should write a book. Well, what if you made a book of like, a story of like these things happen and here's the visual representation of it. That'd be
yeah.
that
would be cool.
That'd be a cool little kid's book or coffee table book, or that'd be awesome. I love that.
That would be cool. That would be cool. I hadn't thought about putting them together actually. That's a good idea.
Yeah, you can
we'll
make a little story with it, and yeah, that sounds. I would definitely get one for my coffee table. That's for sure. So
yeah, good point.
There's that. So
yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, cool. So let's see here. Yeah, we talked about a little bit about Georgia, a little bit about art. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or or should we wrap this up?
Let me think. I guess one thing that comes to mind is I just want to maybe this is, I guess, is a message of peace. I see so much polarization right now in the country and probably the world too. And thing is though, I feel like you have you got media that tends to show the extremes. There's a selection bias going on where the people who are the most extreme are the ones that you see and hear.
Yeah.
But most people, I think, are like a lot more chill, and people just need to listen to each other, respect each other. Everyone does bad stuff. You don't have to hate people. Don't be a hypocrite. You do bad stuff too. Let's just love everyone and be peaceful and stop with the polarization.
Yeah, I love that message, and I think social media has really polarized us too. You see, like, what people pay attention to is the most extreme thing, so they get more attention on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, where people are, and so we have this distorted, vision of what reality is. Because of these algorithms that are literally reprogramming us, right? So I guess that's another good reason to disconnect, and it helps you sink into peace, right? Is I think we're connected to these devices that are literally reprogramming our brains to get glued to the outrage. Then that's what we get, and so it's I don't know how we undo that other than making a conscious decision to put down the devices and enjoy nature, right? Well,
and talk to people in person too, right? Like
that too,
yes. Just that's one thing where I've got a lot of friends who, like, on Facebook, where if I didn't know them in person, I would probably I would have hated them, if I only knew them based on their online exchanges, but like in person, they're actually really pleasant people. So it's really strange. It's almost like it brings out the worst in some people.
Yeah, and it's easier to do it behind a computer where you're typing, like if you're actually in front of people, you don't want to be most people aren't assholes, but yeah, there's something about doing it from behind the keyboard or behind the screen, and it's I guess easy. It does bring out the worst in people sometimes.
I guess it almost you don't see them as people, or there's some kind of weird thing where it's maybe it's harder to see people as people when you don't see them in person or something. Like when you're driving in cars, people have road rage because there's a person in there, but you almost forget or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's like they're just some asshole, right? They're not a person. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah. Peace. I love it. So
Peace,
yeah,
y'all.
be kind to each other. That's one of my intentions for the new year. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I make intentions. And one of my intentions is to be kind to people. So
I like that.
trying to be kind.
Yep.
So,
amen, brother.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Caleb, for taking the time. And everyone check out Caleb's artwork on gods.art. Is that right?
Yep, you got it.
And
yeah, thanks, Kyle, for having me on. It was fun time.
And look for the coffee table art book coming out in 2021. No, I don't know, but
you never know.
It'll come someday. All right, thanks, Caleb.
All right, yeah, thanks, Kyle.